This isn't even low-hanging fruit. It hit the floor and got all bruised and browned and smushed. Hey there everyone, welcome back to a little bit more internet nonsense. Today we're going to be looking at Buzzfeed, because of course we are. Not one of their videos, because I really can't put up with that right now, but an article they posted a few days ago called 15 Reasons We Actually Don't Need Feminism. When I read this, I was surprised. Buzzfeed, are you really making such a bold claim? Are you actually looking at counter-arguments to what you've been saying for years and trying to understand them? No, this is their version of sarcasm. Got me all excited there, Buzzfeed, and then you made me edge like that. That's just mean. So let's go through this list of things together. Number 1, because look how diverse in gender and color the presidents of the USA have been. Is it bad that part of me is actually surprised that some of these photos are in color? Like seriously, most of this can be dismissed easily as it's in the past, way back in a time when there was actual serious sexism and racism going on. But that's not now. Now, I'm not exactly sure of the American timeline of when things happened since I'm not American, but let's go with a nice round number of the 1960s is when equality really started to take hold. The Civil Rights Act was put into effect in 1964, so that sounds about right. So I like how you sit there complaining that all of these people were white men when in approximately 55 years, just about one generation of peoples, America had a black president for 2 terms in a row. I'm sorry that this progress isn't happening fast enough for you, but you can't expect someone to just snap their fingers and for everyone to magically love each other. That's weed's job. As for there not being any women in power, you were surprisingly close this past election. In fact, many people showed interest in Hillary solely on the basis of her being a woman. But if you want there to be female candidates for presidency more often, might I suggest going into politics yourself? You can't sit there and complain that there's not enough women in X field when you could have helped solve the problem by doing it yourself. I can assure that you may actually do some good change in politics as opposed to writing nonsensical lists for Buzzfeed. Number 2. Because globally, women hold a whole 24% of leadership roles in business. Here it cites that only 24% of senior business roles are held globally by women, but failed to mention that it's an increase of 2% from 2 years earlier. It also states that the amount of firms with no women in upper management has increased by 1% over the past year as well. The study that it gets this information from states that countries from, say, Eastern Europe are almost 50-50 when it comes to women being in management. But here's the kicker, and I'm not lying, this is an actual quote from the article. Eastern Europe owes some of its continued women in business success to the legacy of communist principles on equality. It's making out communism to have done something good and is actually praising the ideology of it. The idea that everyone is equal, period, is just wrong. Everyone is different. People have different strengths and weaknesses for every circumstance. I have no problem with businesses holding an entire upper management level of purely men as long as they were the most qualified for the job. You should not get anything based on your sex organs or your skin color or any sort of outside characteristic. It should be your skills and ideas that get you ahead. And these sources, from what I can tell, don't seem to state that women are being kept out because of sexism. It just says that there aren't that many women and leaves it at that without much thought behind it. Number 3, because only 65% of women have experienced being hissed at, whistled at, yelled at, physically blocked, or masturbated at while minding their own business in public. I can't believe that people take such issues with words that this is even a thing, but let's look into the source. Where do they get these numbers from? Let's see. Oh, it's a survey that had only 2,000 respondents. I give them credit that they included men, and it says that 25% of men also get harassed on the street. But here's the fun part. They claim to be representative, and then farther down the line say that it doesn't examine all groups such as persons with disabilities or persons in smaller racial groups like Asians. How representative of you. And let's look at how they define street harassment. Unwanted interactions in public space between strangers that are motivated by a person's actual or perceived gender, sexual orientation, or gender expression, and make the harassee feel annoyed, angry, humiliated, or scared. Some of their examples include catcalling, aka saying, "Hey babe," sexist comments and telling someone to smile, and homophobic or transphobic slurs. I didn't even think that was considered street harassment under this feminist umbrella, but okay, let's go with that. I don't know why, but this entire segment reminded me of that video from a few years ago where that chick walked around New York for 10 hours and some of the harassment they displayed to show that it was a huge problem was people just saying hi. Wasn't there even one clip of some guy just saying, "Hey, I hope you have a good day, beautiful"? Like when you consider that harassment and catcalling, then all hope is lost for humanity. If I saw a beautiful chick that looked like she was down, I'd try to be charming and get her to smile too. I'd fail miserably and she'd probably laugh at me, but it would hopefully get the same end results. The point is, saying hello is how you meet people. It's not harassment. Number 4, because we teach girls to protect themselves rather than teaching boys about consent. Oh boy, rape culture. Look guys, we teach everyone that rape is wrong. If you hear about rape, you've heard that it's wrong. But some people are just sick individuals. That's not saying everyone is, but some people are. You can't teach them not to do it. You have to learn to protect yourself. I think it should be mandatory in every school for people to go through some sort of self-defense classes. I would rather be taught how to protect myself from any situation where I'm being attacked than to attempt to drill it farther into someone's head that rape is wrong. And if you're talking about, oh, we both got drunk and had sex, or I thought about it and decided I didn't really want it later on, that kind of rape? No. The problem with rape laws is that it's incredibly broad and everyone is crying it at every little thing. One of the countries that has the highest amounts of rape, Sweden. It's also one of the countries that has the broadest definition of what rape is. It's a horrible crime, and people that are even thought to commit it are treated worse than dirt by a majority of society. Even if they're cleared of the crime, people would still go after those individuals for the rest of their lives because they were even accused. We do not take it lightly. You should not take it lightly. You should always learn to protect yourself and not assume that we can teach the world to be a lovable, huggable place. That's never going to happen, period. So stop acting like this is a Teletubbies episode. Number 5, because women in 2017 in the USA are paid 80% of what a man makes for the same job, and for women of color, it's as low as 54%. Where's the wage gap button? Damn it, Shu, I need you here. Come on. All right, let's just go through all the normal things. It's not a pay gap, it's an earnings gap. Women don't often put in as many hours as men. They often tend to go for low-paying degrees in education. Women are more likely to take time off work. Women are more likely to leave work or take part-time positions in order to still take care of their families and have a social life, etc., etc., etc. Help me, I'm going to go insane if I have to keep repeating this to every feminist that says my wage gap. Number 6, because unreachable beauty standards are the norm. They wouldn't contribute to 20 million eating disorders, would they? Okay, I looked at this source you gave. Nowhere in here can I find any sort of link to unreachable beauty standards and eating disorders. The closest here is by age 6, 40 to 60% of elementary school girls aged 6 to 12 are concerned about their weight or becoming too fat. Realistically, everyone should be concerned about becoming too fat, hence why they should eat healthily and exercise regularly. Not saying any kind of specific diet is necessary, but eat your damn fruits and veg. Not to mention that it cites the rate of new cases of eating disorders has been increasing since 1950, when Barbie, which is what your picture seems to be implying and is the most notable of all unreachable beauty standard dolls, came out in 1959. The rise in incidence of anorexia in women ages 15 to 19 has been rising since 1930. Bulimia tripled in ages 10 to 39 between 1988 and 1993, almost a full 30 years after Barbie came out. And that it's common for eating disorders to occur with one or more other psychiatric disorders, such as substance abuse being 4 times more likely, depression and other mood disorders, and OCD. You pulled the perfect apple out of the bunch to have an opportunity to talk about an actual issue, unhealthy dieting, mental diseases, obsessions with being overly skinny, and you literally threw it out the window screaming Mattel is to blame. Try again. Number 7, because while women work a whole lot more, they're not paid for that work. Oh, let's try this one on for size. Even though we already know through statistics that women don't often work as long hours as men, and this nice little picture even puts that fact right on display, how about we go ahead and look at the sources? Oh my god, household chores. I'm sorry, you expect people to get paid for household freaking chores? And caring for their own children? Sorry to break it to you, but raising a child is a 24/7 job for basically 16 to 18 years. Yes, if a woman is caring for her own child, she is going to work a lot. But why the heck do you expect to get paid for it? That's the most selfish and self-conceiting thing I have ever heard. Then again, this is coming from the same company where they believe that $100 a week is a budget. Let's even scroll down. Only 50% of women of working age are in the labor force compared to 77% of men. Oh, and you wonder why they're being paid less? They're not working for money. Women and men ages 15 to 24 have experienced a decline in participation, aka the lazy millennials, which is likely linked to expanding educational opportunities at the secondary and tertiary levels. So they take gender studies courses and can't get work afterwards. Oh, but here's the thing. Older women aged 25 to 54 increased their labor force participation in most regions, while that of men in the same age group stagnated or declined slightly across regions. So you know that original feminist movement that was actually trying to get women to work? The one that was actually somewhat worth a damn? You see how the women that grew up and lived through that time worked more? And now that third and fourth wave feminisms have come about, screaming and crying about first world problems, the millennials are doing less? Yeah, I don't feel any pity for a woman crying that she's paid less than a man. That's illegal for that to happen. You can literally not be paid 77 cents for every man's dollar. There's other factors, and you just need to actually look at them and work on them to get paid equally. Number 8, because just look at this group of women deciding what should happen with women's bodies. Their citation is literally a link back to their own websites. I can't even. It's on an article on anti-abortion law and how Trump doesn't want people to get them. If you want to have weight in laws like this, go into politics. Don't sit there and complain that you don't get a say when you aren't even trying to throw your hat in the ring. That's absolutely ridiculous. Number 9, because just this image alone is enough to make most women's heart rate speed up. Not gonna lie, I sent this article to a few male friends of mine. They all came back pointing to this specific bullet point and said that's enough to make anyone's heart rate go up, not just women. And I agree with them. If you're walking alone in the middle of the night and you see a shadowy figure who's potentially following you, your adrenaline is going to go up no matter your sex or gender. Your fight or flight instinct is going to kick in. It's not a sexist thing. Don't make it that way. This image doesn't tend to make my heart rate go up because I know a little bit about defending myself. Not to mention, I don't tend to go out alone at night. If you're going to go out on your own in the middle of the night in pitch black, you need to take the necessary precautions to keep yourself safe. Again, this isn't a Teletubbies episode. Don't treat it like one. The world is a scary place. Get a nightlight. Number 10. Because little girls' confidence in their intelligence only starts declining at 6 years old. 6 whole years of confidence! Okay, let's go through this one. So at age 5 and 6, kids were told a story where the researchers were very careful to leave out any clues to the person's gender. I don't know the story, so I can't vouch for that. But the researchers were getting upset that at age 5, girls tended to say that the protagonist was a girl, but at age 6, they tended to say that they were a boy. Again, I don't know the story, I haven't read it, so I don't want to speak too much on that. I don't want to say anything before I know at least some of the facts. But farther down, there were kids who were tasked with an activity that was for really, really smart kids. At age 5, both genders were enjoying it the same, but after 6 and 7, girls had lost interest. Again, what is the problem if girls lose interest? Their brains are starting to develop, they're going to biologically get different interests than boys. I don't see an issue with this. And again, when the kids were asked to choose who would get the best grades in the school from 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, there was no difference between younger girls and older girls for if they would pick someone of their own gender. That's because I could only assume they realized that girls are also smart. The researchers claim that this is all due to stereotypes, but in this very article, an actual child psychologist says exactly what I said. It's due to developmental differences around that age. Boys are basically more likely to be full of themselves and need other people to inflate their ego, but girls are more likely to be empathetic. There are biological differences between men and women. Both genders can be incredibly smart, and we understand that. There really aren't a lot of people claiming that women aren't smart anymore, and those people that do are always going to exist no matter what you do. But just as a general rule of thumb, saying that girls don't understand their intelligence is absolute nonsense. Number 11. Because a whopping 19.5% of the members of Congress are women. Like I said before, you can't complain if you're not doing anything to help solve the problem. Throw your hat into the ring and try to become a politician. Sitting here crying about it on Buzzfeed isn't doing anything to fix the issue. It isn't bringing awareness to the issue. It's just you crying and demanding that something be done about this as a non-issue. We should have the best people in Congress that we can have for the job, regardless of any outside characteristic that they may possess. If there aren't many women in the pool that want to be a part of Congress, there aren't going to be a lot of women picked to be in Congress. Number 12, because a woman in the USA is raped only every 2 minutes. As far as I can tell, this isn't even remotely true. Where the hell are you getting this number from? Checking your source just states the exact same bullet point and tries to present it as fact, but it does cite a National Crime Victimization Survey of 2007 from the Department of Justice. Now, I clicked on that link and went to the table that gave the approximate numbers for various crimes that broke it down by gender. It's on page 15 of this PDF for anyone who's wondering. So the rate is per 1,000 people, but there's the actual number of crimes here. Maybe this is where they went wrong, that they multiplied the actual number by 1,000 as well. I really have no idea. But for women aged 12 and over, the numbers of rape is 66,730. The number of attempted rape is 65,490. Together, that makes up 132,220. Now there's 365 days in a year, 24 hours in a day, so that makes up 8,760 hours, 60 minutes in an hour, and now we have 525,600 minutes in a year. In order for rape to be happening every 2 minutes, even an attempted rape, there would need to be 262,800 rapes. Even when you include men in rape statistics, you get 140,620 rapes per year, which isn't enough to make this statistic true. How you get close to this number is when you include sexual assault into the statistics, but rape and sexual assault are two completely different things. Maybe you should try to learn some math, Buzzfeed. Number 13, because women and girls make up 98% of the victims of trafficking for sexual exploitation. Now this one I'm not really going to argue with. I know that females make up a huge majority of sex trafficking victims. The most I could say is, do you really think that this is a feminist issue and not just a human rights issue as a whole? I know that there are a lot of people who would say that those two are synonymous, but that's up to a person's subjectivity. I care about human rights. I don't care about feminism, I don't care about being an MRA. I care about people being treated unfairly due to the misconceptions on both sides of the coin. But that's just me. Number 14, because women of color are affected to a higher degree in almost all of the aforementioned areas. If by women of color you mean black women, they tend to be in lower income and poverty-stricken areas. Statistically, of course. More crime is going to happen in areas of poverty. It's a sad reality, but it is a reality nonetheless. If white people and black people were completely reversed, it would be white people taking the brunt of these crimes. And finally, number 15, because if it doesn't affect you, why does it matter? BuzzFeed, none of this stuff affects me. But I still believe that it matters. Just not in the way that you put it. Some of these things you've talked about really don't matter, like street harassment. Some of them are non-issues, such as women doing more housework or not wanting to run for Congress. Some of these are actual things to deal with, like the sex trafficking bullet point. But I sincerely believe that if the majority of the problems feminine has to deal with is someone saying hello on the street, developmental differences between boys and girls at a young age, and crying that Barbie is making people have eating disorders, then feminism doesn't have a place anymore. If you want to make a change, go out and make a change. Don't sit in your bedroom writing articles about it. Go out and do something. Even the feminists that sit and rant in front of college classrooms are doing more than you. I give more credit to Anita Sarkeesian than I do to this BuzzFeed article, because at least she's going out and trying to educate people with her misguided and under-researched beliefs. She's trying. You're not. I'm not trying to change BuzzFeed. If I tried to change people that thought like this, I'd have nothing to laugh at anymore. The difference between me and this article is that I'm doing this for fun, and I don't take any of it seriously. They think that this is an actual thing. This is keyboard warriors for the win.